Cool. Any more from the audience? I've got the next one lined up, and we'll come back to the audience in a couple minutes after some of my questions. So let's shift gears. We talked a little bit about founders, sales leaders, kind of running the whole organization. Let's talk a little bit about sales management, because I think a lot of people in the room are directly managing people. What was your first step into sales management, and what were the painful early learnings?
Yeah, so my first step was going from an individual contributor to a regional manager and managing a team of like 5 or 6 people that I had worked with for 3, 4, 5 years in various capacities. And I went from being a friend to a manager. And I think going through that dynamic. And the thing about, I think, my approach to sales is one in which I break sales down to 2 things. Like, well, part one is like it's a math problem, and part 2 is a psychology problem. And I think I was always very much a fan of Salesforce and CRM and tracking data, and like it was a pain in the ass. Back in the day, it's much easier now, but it gave me insight. Like, I knew at the end of the week or at the end of a month or at the end of a quarter, like, what I was doing. So I, as a salesperson, had very, very good understanding of my metrics. And then when I was promoted to managing now a bunch of my friends, in many cases, it's like, okay, I'm not going to assume that they do things exactly as I do. I am not going to force like my process on them. What I'm going to do is take the same metrics and the same analytics that I use as an individual contributor and apply that to every single person. I know that they, because I was friends with them, I know they were not like really using CRM as a tool. So I think for me is helping them understand why to use it, why it's important. But then like everyone is different. Like every salesperson has strengths and weaknesses. And I made a very early decision as a manager that I'm not going to shove a process or something that I think is right down their throat. Obviously, we have goals to hit. But I can look at the metrics and say, okay, Joe Smith is not converting, discovery calls as well. Let me go in there and see like the psychology of it. Like, what are you asking? How are you interpreting what someone says? How is that different from, Patty Smith? Like the next, like so getting a sense of like where everyone's converging, where they're hurting, and really focusing on those things. And I think it served us well. I think the team was like, oh, great, now we got this guy, like, and like I looked at it as like, look, I'm working for you now. Like, my goal is to make sure that you crush your number. And, taking that like no ego approach, I think worked very well. And they saw the numbers and they saw the improvements and they saw the focus. So it was very tangible and very black and white.
So it sounds like the idea is use the numbers to help you figure out where each individual seller needs help. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, it's even now at our business, it's just a handful of us, but like we have more metrics than you could possibly imagine, and I think for me, using OfferPop as an example, where we were like at our at the largest size, about 45 people, I had managers who managed reps, but I had the right instrumentation of the dashboard and the reporting and the metrics to like understand what a salesperson who I may not have talked to for, I tried not to go this long, but a month or so, I knew I could look and in a couple minutes know what they're not doing right. Because I as a manager understood the sales process. Number one, I understood the product, I understood the market, and I understood what the metrics meant to the sales process. And I think like that's something that, as I have an opportunity to talk to a lot of sales managers, like I feel like that's something that a lot of people miss. Like we have numbers, but they're important for a week and then they like go away, or it's like, okay, well, we're not getting enough leads. It's like, okay, well, what's your close rate? 10%. It's like, okay, probably getting enough leads. Like it's something else is wrong there. So I think like really diving into the diagnostic of what the metrics are telling you as a place to as a manager to spend your time.